Hello, my name is Lucas Cristiano. I've been leading the mass account management team at B&Q Marketplace over the past year. So I've been focused on helping merchants grow at scale, and I'm now moving into a new role. So I'll be looking after our strategic marketplace partnerships. So very excited to be transitioning into the new role. But today I wanted to give you a clear overview of the opportunity that B&Q Marketplace represents, why B&Q Marketplace exists, how we're growing it, and why more merchants are choosing to sell with us. Little bit of background though, so B&Q's been helping customers improve their homes for over half a century, about 55 years, which is why we are the UK's most trusted home improvement brand. Over the years, we've seen quite a few shifts in customer behaviour, and as we try to put our customers at the heart of everything that we do in terms of decisions that we make, we've had to be pretty sharp and nimble, and Marketplace has definitely played a big part in that, especially in recent years. One behaviour that we've been able to observe quite closely is that customers have become focused on projects rather than just products. So it's less about, I want a shiny new lawnmower, and it's more about, how can I make the garden the way I want it? Or how can I give my bedroom a modern look? Or I want to make my house feel like a home. And when they come to B&Q, they're expecting to find everything that they need from a brand that they already trust to be able to complete that project, to realize that vision. Marketplace is allowing us to deliver that on that expectation at scale and continuously. So what we're seeing is that customers are searching much more broadly for anything that's connected to their home now. And that's reflected directly in the data that we've seen. And we've got some data from 2025 here. So in 2025 alone, we're not that far away from 500 million visits to our digital platforms. And that volume of traffic really tells us that customers are already coming to B&Q. They've got intent, they've got bigger, broader missions in mind when we look at the kind of traffic that we're getting. When we look at our growth in some of our key categories, if we look at timber and joinery, for example, it's up over 80% year on year, bathrooms close to 70%, over 60% in hardware. When we look at this more closely though, customers are not just browsing for those traditional home and DIY products, they're actually buying into bigger home projects. Marketplace allows B&Q to respond quickly to that demand, that shifting behaviour, by expanding into new and complementary or adjacent categories without being limited by anything that's physical or physical shelf space. So for merchants, that means that merchants' products are visible right when customers are planning and they're ready to spend. So a little bit about B&Q. So since we launched in 2022, I'm pleased to say that we've driven over £1 billion in sales, and today Marketplace makes up a significant portion, at times the majority share, of B&Q's online performance. So it's pretty significant. If we look at B&Q's 92% brand awareness in the UK, and if we combine that with that nearly 500 million visits to the site every year, that combination gives Marketplace merchants access to a pretty genuinely high intent audience that already trusts a brand that they're buying from. And because Marketplace is an invite only, we're focused on the quality of merchants that we're bringing on board, making sure that the right products reach the right customers in the right way. One thing that really matters to merchants is how much support actually is given to them when they come on board. So what is B&Q practically doing to help my business succeed? So if we look at the first thing, B&Q fully funds Google advertising that drives over 15 million paid clicks every month, and that is including directly to Marketplace product pages. That's demand that merchants don't need to invest in to be able to generate themselves. And then if we look back to one of our most historic launches last year, we launched Click and Collect for Marketplace merchants. So merchants can now ship orders for collection to our network of stores, which is to the tune of around 300, which massively improves the convenience for customers who like to shop in that way, and it's a huge portion of our customers. What that does is it offers a huge boost to conversion for merchants, and that obviously leads to higher sales performance. So we look at that. On top of that, through Kingfisher, Marketplace opens up new opportunities, international opportunities, and that's in Europe through our other banners. And we have support that we offer, some cross-border onboarding support, and that will help you scale efficiently and properly. But the goal here is simple. What we want to do is remove the friction that merchants typically get concerned about. We want to invest in merchants, and by doing that, we're going to be able to grow together. Promotions are a huge part about how people shop at B&Q, and not just B&Q, online in general, and so it definitely needs to be talked about. In fact, 80% of customers, if we look at the statistic here, say they're much more likely to buy from a brand they've never purchased from before if they see an offer or a discount. So that's why our trading moments, our trading events throughout the year are so important. So we look at our trading events, and if we include our biggest Black Friday ever and our You Can Do It weekends, we've sold over 1.4 million units. And if we look at the merchants who took part in Black Friday last year, they saw their sales grow 5 times faster than those that didn't participate. So these events are not just about driving that kind of short-term spike in performance. What they really do is they build that lasting momentum, they build ranking, and they can even build repeat custom. From a tech point of view, B&Q Marketplace is powered by Miracle, which is a really flexible, really intuitive and powerful program. Merchants can manage their shop themselves manually, export files, API integrations, and one of those integrations is Limworks, which is one of the most powerful and widely used integration platforms by our merchants. But that flexibility basically means merchants can connect to Marketplace in a way that works for them, it works for their existing setup, without needing a ton of additional work to kind of overhaul the operational side of things to get set up. Retail media is another key lever that merchants can use to really boost their visibility and accelerate growth on Marketplace. What we mean by that is sponsored placements, targeted ad campaigns, and this really helps products reach those high intent home improvement customers. This can be done in a really cost-effective way and a really profitable way because merchants have got complete control over the spend, over their campaigns, and there's actually not much competition in a lot of areas. So it's still a really great space for merchants to operate in. It's a really great lever for growth and a really big opportunity at the moment. If we look at 2025 on its own, retail media drove 9.4 million engagements, and merchants who adopted it saw much higher growth than those who didn't, 44% versus 22%. And a really interesting statistic is that sellers that were committed to it had a 15 times higher GMV uplift versus non-adopters. So on its own, it's another very powerful tool that can be used to grow on B&Q Marketplace. But I'm all about combining these things. So we combine retail media with, great content, optimized content, promotions during promotional events. That combination of things is where we really see merchants growing at pace. If we look at onboarding, we've designed it to be as clear and structured as possible so merchants know what they're getting into from the outset. It starts with signing the T's and C's. That confirms access to B&Q Marketplace. From there, merchants move through a guided shop setup, then they start uploading their products. And I'd say at this point, it's a good reminder to say merchants that upload their full range tend to see much better results in doing that if they do that at the start. and also ideally doing it in a way that is optimized and that therefore maximizes the visibility and maximizes that early performance. But once the opening checks are complete, you're basically ready to launch and start trading. Beyond launch, merchants are given everything they need to continue scaling using growth levers, other marketplace tools. We provide resources, a merchant hub that's constantly updated, and we run webinars. So that really, really helps maintain that momentum and helps merchants continue to grow with us. So hopefully that gives you a good idea of why B&Q Marketplace represents a good opportunity for merchants. And now I'm going to go through some commonly asked questions that we get from both sellers, prospective, current, and partners as well. First question is, can you give us an overview of B&Q Marketplace and how it fits into the wider Kingfisher growth strategy? So, I've already given a good overview of B&Q Marketplace, but as a reminder, I'd say at the top level, it really exists to extend the range of what we have in stores to offer the best possible selection to customers for everything related to the home. What it does is it enables us to scale the choice that we have to offer, the selection that's available on site. It allows us to do that quickly and in a credible way. It allows us to go into new and specialist categories fast, responding to customer behavior, and it essentially gives customers more of what they're already searching for online. If we look at this from a Kingfisher perspective, B&Q represents a very significant growth engine for the business. It drives a ton of visibility, it builds trust, not just with customers, but also with merchants that are actively selling with us, potential merchants, of course, and strategic partners that we work with. It really helps us to stay agile in the market, learn the market more as the market inevitably evolves and changes. But what really makes it powerful is the role that merchants play. We wouldn't be anywhere without our merchants. So, Marketplace only works if merchants succeed. So we really try to focus on giving merchants the right tools, the right support, and the right environment in which to grow, because if they're going to grow, we're going to grow. So that's how we create long-term, sustainable relationships, sustainable success, while continuing to deliver on B&Q's mission, which is better homes, better lives for everyone. What makes B&Q Marketplace different from other marketplaces in the UK and Europe? So we touched on this at the start, but B&Q has built a ton of trust over the years. If we look beyond that, we've really been able to establish ourselves as a winner in both the retail and the first-party online space historically. What I would say, though, is what really sets B&Q Marketplace apart is the type of customer that we serve. Customers are coming to B&Q with a mission, a home improvement mission. They're not just here to browse. So that means that merchants benefit from high intent, high quality traffic focused on real projects. What we try to do is meet them at that and say, we want to run promotional events that are going to be key during those key periods throughout the year for customers. So we do this very much with customers and merchants in mind, but we also do it in harmony with the first party B&Q side of the business to make sure that customers are served in the right way. And as I've mentioned before, another unique element for B&Q is the fact that we've launched Click and Collect. So we're really leveraging our incredible retail spaces and the 300 stores in the UK to be able to offer this model. So customers are able to shop in the right way, in the way they want. Historically, we've seen between 60 and 80% of customers prefer Click and Collect as a purchasing option, which is a staggering figure. And that means that merchants can expose themselves to those customers and leverage that custom, leverage that traffic, and also increase conversion by offering that as an option. But we have a very, very unique retail proposition in that the spaces have been built over many years. The spaces are enjoyable. We have incredible teams stationed at the stores, not just there to make customers feel welcome in the store, but also to help them with their project, to help them find those products and those solutions that are going to complement the marketplace product or the products that they're picking up through Click and Collect. But But in summary, I think it starts really with the brand that's been built over such a long time. It's our unique customers with high intent, and it's B&Q's overall value proposition that makes it unique. Which product categories and seller types are currently the biggest priorities for growth? Again, we try to take our emotions out of it, our opinion out of it, and we look at the data. We listen to the customer. So if we look at the customer demand and the selection gaps that we have, we try to fill those gaps based on that demand. We really do want to deepen our, home improvement categories, but we also want to expand into those complementary ranges, those specialist ranges. So we've got those traditional home and DIY categories that B&Q has always been known for, and we also have those categories that really align with our vision of being able to offer everything for the home. But what we want to do is we want to offer it in the right way and at the right time to make sure that we can launch successfully and merchants can launch and expand potentially into new ranges with as much confidence as possible. If we look at most recently, we've actually expanded our categories into some new areas. So we've expanded our electronics offering with TVs, sound bars, tech, sports and fitness, toys and games, and most recently, baby and nursery. So really, really trying to offer everything for the home here. If we look at this from a merchant point of view, we really try to prioritize those kind of strong, trusted brands, those trusted resellers who offer really, really good complementary selection and are able to keep those products in stock and make them available to customers at competitive prices. But I'd say merchants who really do view B&Q as a long-term strategic partner, and those that are willing to engage with us, embrace our suggestions and adopt our growth tools, they're the ones that tend to see the strongest results, and we look for that. So we're really keen to speak with any business that is kind of fits the bill, who is super keen and has something great to offer. What does success typically look like for a new seller in their first 6 to 12 months on the platform? So I've touched on this, but I'd say to start with, to get that early success, even before 6 months, Marketplace is about building foundations, not just getting those quick wins. So I'd say the best merchants, the most successful merchants, they focus on getting their full catalogue uploaded, optimizing their product pages with great content, great imagery, and then they're starting to engage in those growth opportunities as early as possible. So having a look at promotional events, looking at their pricing strategy, keeping an eye on the promotional calendar, maybe testing sponsored placements, sponsored ads, sponsored banners, these kinds of things that are going to help with growth, help collect some data and do some research so they can start to refine their strategy and continue to grow in the future. But I'd say by this point, by 6 to 12 months, they've already engaged with these growth tools a little bit. They're staying really close to all the updates that are happening at B&Q. They're joining our webinars. They're engaging on the Merchant Hub and looking at all the new content. If they're doing this, then you've created a really strong base to grow sustainably and scale on B&Q Marketplace. How does fulfillment work on B&Q Marketplace, and what options do merchants have to scale their operations? So I mentioned before, fulfillment is really flexible. It's a big strength, I'd say, of our marketplace model. Merchants send orders directly to customers, so they have complete control over carriers. They have control over their lead times and set their own delivery promises, and they look after their own customer experience. We support both home delivery and, as mentioned, click and collect, to make sure that customer desires are met. That's what we want. As merchants continue to grow, as they're scaling, what I would say is that a lot of them later optimize their delivery promise further, offer next day delivery where they can, which is a massive driver of conversion. They start to expand some of the fulfillment options, maybe offer more carriers if that means they can offer more fulfillment options, and they start to maybe automate some of their operations if they're not doing so already. We're built on Miracle, very flexible platform, endless integration options. Linworks is a fantastic option, fantastic example to help automate some of those really manual, repetitive tasks and ensure things run smoothly. We know that if we give these tools, so we allow these tools to be used, that merchants can use to have it fit around their business model, they can deliver a better experience in the end for B&Q customers. How important is pricing, product data quality, and availability in driving sales performance on the platform? Similar to before, I'd say the foundations or the fundamentals really, really do matter on B&Q Marketplace. Having competitive pricing, right back to basics, super important. Having products made available is also really important. If they're not available, they can't be purchased. You can't gather data. You can't generate reviews. And also, I'm a big one for optimization. So having high quality product data from the start when you upload products is critical to drive performance. So yeah, well optimized, well-priced listings are going to convert better. They're going to rank higher. They're going to have lasting sales performance. You're going to build trust with customers and maybe even have repeat customers. For some merchants, it can mean quite an investment to get this right in terms of time and resource. But I'd say it's going to save you a lot of time in the long run. It's those fundamental optimization practices that are so important to get right. Another thing I like to think about is if you get those things right, everything else feeds off of that. And I think a good example is retail media and running ads or sponsored placements. If you're going to advertise your products, you want to make sure the listings look as appealing as possible, because that means that those clicks are going to convert into sales and you're going to get a solid return on your investment. But I would say maybe a simpler way of putting this is spending the time on getting these basic things right is ultimately going to feed the success cycle and sustain itself. So if your products on site are appealing, they're visible, they're available, you're more likely to increase sales. That means you're more likely to generate reviews, more likely to rank higher, which is going to lead to more sales, and the cycle just continues and eventually accelerates. So yes, I really do believe in getting those fundamentals right. How does integrating with solutions like Limworks help merchants manage stock, orders, and multi-channel growth more efficiently? So this is very true for most merchants, but for the specific merchants, especially those that are scaling quickly, operational efficiency is going to be key. So if you look at tools like Limworks, they're incredibly helpful to bring everything into one place. Stock, orders, pricing, very hard to manage across multiple channels. Having something that brings it all together can cut out a lot of that manual work, and it can also reduce the risk of things going wrong, missing orders, inaccuracies. But I'd also say the biggest benefit of that is it gives you time back. So instead of getting stuck into the day-to-day admin, merchants can focus on what they actually do best. It's their product, their brand building, growing the business, diversifying the business, things that are more creative and exciting. So that's where I think something like Limworks really unlocks true value. It gives merchants the headspace to think a little bit more strategically and doing those things, expanding the range, diversifying, and growing B&Q alongside other channels, but all from one place. So massive efficiency, and it can really, I think, make it a more enjoyable experience overall to have something that can take care of those less interesting tasks, I'd say. Oh, last question. So what advice would you give to merchants who are considering joining B&Q Marketplace today? I would say think long term. For a lot of merchants, we've become their biggest sales channel. So my biggest piece of advice is to take B&Q Marketplace seriously. Whether you're thinking about selling on B&Q Marketplace, you've just started, or maybe you've been going for a little while, take it seriously, ideally from day one. It's growing really fast. Merchants are growing with us. The opportunity is bigger than a lot of merchants initially realize. The ones that win are the ones who treat it as a real growth channel and respect the opportunity, not just something to test on the side of other channels. The good news is, though, and I think this is really important, is the formula is really simple. If you get those fundamentals right, the things that we've covered just recently is, strong catalog, upload all of your products, competitive pricing, optimized listing, delivery, and then, some of those growth levers we mentioned, like promotions and retail media, and then just give it a bit of attention. It's a recipe for success. So what we see time and time again is merchants who do that from the start. They do it quickly, they build momentum, they start learning from those things. Before long, B&Q becomes one of their biggest, if not the biggest, sales channels. So it's less about needing to invest a load of time and a load of resources. If you have great products, to offer customers and you give it the right amount of attention at the start, you've got a really, really good chance of achieving big things with B&Q Marketplace. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen to me. I hope that was useful and gives you a good overview. If you'd like more information or you'd like to start selling on B&Q Marketplace, feel free to get in touch with us. You can simply search Sell on B&Q Marketplace on any search engine, or you're welcome to get in touch with one of us directly via LinkedIn or through Limworks. Thank you very much.